As promised in our last video where we're unpacking this crypto clarity bill, we saw how Congress isn't drafting laws to make the underlying tech more safe and secure. So now we're asking the question, maybe Congress believes that it's actually the middlemen that will make crypto more safe and secure. The good news here is that we're in 2026. There are actually plenty of crypto safety and security failures. So let's take a few examples and see whether or not any version of the Crypto Clarity Act would have solved for the problem, either by preventing it from happening in the first place or making sure to compensate all the victims. Our first example is the Bybit hack from February of 2025. So the Bybit exchange, which is a crypto exchange, just like NASDAQ is an exchange for stocks, tried to move some funds internally as part of its normal operations. Basically, it held a bunch of funds in the equivalent of a crypto safety deposit box offline, and was trying to move those funds online. But despite the multiple security protocols they had in place, during the transfer, they got hacked. It's like they had armored security guards with them, except for it turned out that the armored security guards were fake. The hackers here spoofed the user interface, and multiple signatories all signed off on a fake transaction. Obviously, it should never happen. So then let's ask the question, would any version of the Crypto Clarity Act have stopped this from happening? So to figure out if there's any harm that could have been prevented, we want to ask for each of these bills, are there minimum security requirements in place for the middlemen? For the House version, the answer is no. For the Senate Ag version, the answer is no. For the Senate Banking version, the answer is no. Fine. If they're not going to address that, then do they require that when the middlemen's security requirements weren't robust enough, do the customers get their funds back? Are there insurance requirements? In the Bybit instance, the House version would not be compensating them. The Senate Ag version would not be compensating them. The Senate Banking version would not be compensating them. In fact, Congress excludes customers from being able to access any of the federal insurance programs that we currently have available, and they don't establish a new one. Let's look at another example. The Terraform crash from May of 2022. This was one project that wiped out $40 billion in about 72 hours. Terraform Labs, part of this crypto ecosystem that Do Kwon had founded. He claimed that he created a decentralized ecosystem that no one controlled, the community controlled it, and the stablecoin of this project was powering millions of transactions in Korea. What we now know is that he faked it all. He actually controlled all these wallets that he had made up out of thin air, and that allowed him to fake a bunch of blockchain transactions that had never happened. It also allowed him to change the underlying governance rules whenever he wanted. It's as if there's a vote for the Oscars. But what happened here is that rather than being 10,000 voters, there's just 10,000 ballots, and Steven Spielberg gets to submit 9,900 of them. So again, would any version of the Crypto Clarity Bill have prevented this kind of crypto project that was decentralized in name only from happening? So the House version gives lip service to this idea that no single entity can control more than 20%. But there's no requirement to verify it, no independent audit, no on-chain forensics. In theory, you could just have 5 people who all just collude, and that'd be just fine under this version. The Senate Banking version has a 49% threshold, but similarly, no independent audit, no verification, no on-chain analysis. You could get 3 entities to collude here, and you're just fine under this version. And the Senate Ag Committee doesn't address this idea of control at all. For the remedies, there isn't one in any of these versions. If the Terraform collapse were to happen again, none of the victims would be made whole or compensated. And they certainly haven't been, even though Do Kwon is in jail. In our last example, we've got Prime Trust. Prime Trust is a custodian here, meaning that people were actually placing their assets with Prime Trust and trusted them to keep it safe. What ended up happening was that Prime Trust lost the digital keys to a lot of these digital assets. But instead of telling their customers, they actually moved money around to get more customers to give them more assets to pay back the other customers, more than 75 million of it. So then the question is, could any of those 3 versions have prevented this? Do any of them require some minimum standards when it comes to key management, or having a key management officer, or having key management disclosures? But the answer is that none of these are requiring any sort of key management standards or responsibilities. Fine. Then again, the question is, if the middleman screws up, does the customer have some remedy, some way to be made whole again? And again, for all 3 versions, the answer is no. Now what we see is that we know what could go wrong in this crypto ecosystem. And we know that Americans are concerned about the safety and security of crypto. But Congress is not drafting laws to address that. Instead, Congress is spending a lot of time on legislating middlemen, but these middlemen aren't required to adhere to any safety and security standards or to make us whole if they lose our money. So for our next video, let's unpack whose interests is Congress solving for. Drop me any questions that you've got.